recording this, so I am starting that. I also am going to share my screen, so bear with me for a minute while I get that going. That sometimes is not smooth, but okay. Everyone can see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't see any faces. So here we are, October 30th. Happy Halloween. I would ask, I thought about asking everyone to dress up, but decided against it.
Thank you.
So we're going to do our call to order. Dr. Bowser, I didn't see him. Okay. Dr. Kraft?
Yes, we're here, Sherry.
Kristen Donaldson?
Here.
Lena De La Cruz?
Here.
Dr. Glenn? Simone Hendricks?
Here.
Captain McLean? I saw him. Shelly Ramos?
Here.
Dr. Roper?
Here.
Kathy Smith? Lonnie Webster? I saw Lonnie. And Suri Garcia?
Here.
Thank you. All right. We don't have any public comment that's registered, so we'll skip on through that. We are starting today with a school liaison panel. I know for myself, like I am not fully aware of the role of the school liaison. And we know, or my understanding is it's such a great resource. So I just felt like it would be great to hear from several different school liaisons. And hopefully we can just have a conversation. I'd like everyone to join in, ask your questions. There's no formal agenda for this other than to just be able to understand what the school liaison does, how they help students transition. And so I would like to introduce who we have with us today. So as you can see on the presentation, we have, I didn't see Nita. So if Nita is here, please jump in. But I have seen Joe Holder. If you want to come off and say hello. Oh, I see Nita now. Thank you, Nita.
Good afternoon, Joe Holder from Corpus Christi.
Great. Simone?
Yes, good afternoon. Simone Hendricks from Fort Bliss.
Terry Jones?
Yes, good afternoon. Terry Jones from Fort Cavazos.
Nita Ford Hightower? Okay, I'm sorry, Nita, if we're having some issues, but we can't hear you and we can't see you. And we have Kristen Donaldson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Kristen Donaldson from Goodfellow Air Force Base.
Great.
Sherry, it looks like Nita is in the attendees. Are you able to? Oh, no. Well, maybe, I don't know. She's moving around in there.
Oh, yeah, she has her hand up.
There's Dr. Bowser. Hi, Dr. Bowser.
Hi. I see Nita's in the attendees. You want me to send her? Is there a panel link we want to send her, or?
I would have sent her one, and I'm not sure that I can maneuver to go get it
Sherry, I'll take care of it. I'll see if I can track it
Okay.
down, and that way you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, thank you. I'm afraid if I got out of something, I'd never get back in. So we're gonna start. I thought we'd start with Simone, since she is a member of the council, just with a general overview of the school liaison role. We're gonna spend about 15 or 20 minutes visiting with the panelists for the school liaisons. So that's the time frame we're kind of looking at. So Simone, if you'd like to get started, and I'm actually going to go ahead and pause sharing so that we can see faces better.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the school liaison officer serves as the point of contact for pre-K through 12 school-related matters. We offer a wide variety of services and resources to our military families, but not only to our families, we also provide those resources to the installation leadership and, of course, to our local school districts. These free resources include workshops for parents, workshops for educators, just to name a few, as well as the youth sponsorship program that we provide for our local school districts. Part of our role is to provide information on local school districts and installation resources to our families. And we also keep our command teams informed on local developments, on trends in our education community, so that any barriers that there might be, that influence student success can be identified and addressed. So as a SLO, we really actively build those connections, those partnerships with the community, with the installation, with our school district. And the goal is we always have the best interests of our military families and our military students in mind, so that we can make sure they have the best experience in educational experience while they are with us here on Fort Bliss and any place else in Texas. I think, that is in a nutshell what we do. There's many, many other things, but that I think is our role, what we do.
One of the things I heard you say, Simone, was all the kind of different people that you support. I'm wondering if any of the other school liaisons have anyone to add to that, or anything different in terms of what Simone said.
Yeah, this is Joe Holder for the Naval Air Station Corpus Christi. So people always think about the military being, the typical, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and now Space Force. But we also deal with National Guard, reservists, and also, for me down here, a lot of Coast Guard. So people think it's just for active duty military, the main services, and it's not. I mean, we have unique services there, to whereas even though they're not, say, the Coast Guard part of the Department of Homeland Security, they're still part of our active duty force, and we take care of them.
Thanks for adding that, Joe. Anyone else have anything to say about that? So I'm wondering how your work involves the military compact, or how often you're dealing with the military compact.
So this is Terry from Fort Cavazos. We in and out process our military families who are either transitioning into the area or out of the area. And on a daily basis, because of that, we talk to them about the military interstate compact and the support that it provides in so many various ways. We usually include a flyer or a printed off booklet from the website. Most of the time, the parents are not aware of that program being, in force. And so we ensure that we give them contact information if they're moving away from the area. They are connected with the follow-on school liaison, whether that's Joe Holder in the Navy because they're getting sent down that area, or if it's an Air Force, family that's going closer to an Air Force base, we ensure we connect them with that. But we typically discuss the military interstate compact, answer questions for them, and then tell them the school liaison at your follow-on installation is going to be a subject matter expert on this information, and they can certainly connect you with it. If there's questions they can't answer, there's a state commission and they can reach out. You can reach out to them for that information.
Great.
We also provide workshops for parents and educators to inform them on the military interstate compact and how it can aid in transition. So that's also a service that we provide.
Hi, this is Nita. So I finally connected on.
Hi,
Hi, how you doing? So we also, we brief our units, we brief, with us being joint base, it's 3 of us located here. So I'm here at Fort Sam, and then Angela Green at Randolph, and Diana Fryer that's at Lackland. And collectively, we work together on briefing our installations on the interstate compact. But not only that, to piggyback off of what the other liaison is saying, is that we also go out in the districts. And here in San Antonio, we reach out to 56 school districts. So we go out into the districts and brief them on the MIC 3.
Thank you, Nita. So what are some of the specific things that you do when students are transitioning?
First and foremost, I think so Fort Bliss has 10 different school districts. So first and foremost, I think we provide information on the districts, on enrollment processes, on graduation requirements to the parent, either before they ever get here, they can reach out to us, and many military families do reach out to us prior to getting here. So that is one of the things that we do, to connect them with the districts, provide them with the resources, how to make that transition smoother, and also connect them with youth sponsors so that the students might be able to reach out to a peer before they even get here, because students like to hear from other students when it comes to the district that they will be joining. So those are some of the things that we do on a daily basis and then when they leave here, we provide that warm handoff to the next installation as well.
Okay. Anyone have anything to add to that?
Yeah, this is Joe Holder, Corpus Christi. The number one stressor for a family is schools when they transfer, and kids don't have the choice to move. So I work really hard to get them connected to the schools, to the peers. Some schools have student program. The Navy has what they call Anchored for Life, which is run through the Trevor Romaine company. So to get them connected and being part of the group instead of just being isolated new kid, no matter what month they come, because they come every month, and being part of the school and part of the community and not just an outcast. And that's I think that's, for me, that's one of the most rewarding, to get them in there instead of just being by themselves.
So Joe, I heard you say that moving schools is the number one stressor for families. And so that actually leads to another question. I'm wondering what specifically, when they are transitioning, what are those greatest challenges that you all find?
Well, I would say that the good thing about it is that we have really good relationships here with our districts. So, in a lot of the districts, they have a military connected liaison that we can actually connect the family and the child and to connect the child to. And so what happens is that once they get here, we try to make that transition as smooth as possible, as easy as possible. Sometimes it's not always easy. Like sometimes our parents travel in, and I will tell you here at Fort Sam, this is a lot of parents come here because of Recompassionate, and they're sent here because of the medical facilities or having access to getting the medical care that they need. So that's a big stressor for a lot of our parents here. So they come here with IEPs and 504 plans, and it's just making sure that they get connected to the schools, get connected to their special education coordinator, so that transition can really be smooth. Because I know the biggest stressor for a parent is that they walk in and they want to make sure that the school that they're going into, that they're going to be offering the same services as the services that they left, you know. And one of the things that I'm always continuously explaining to parents is that the big word accommodations. With accommodations is that it may not be the same, but it will be like accommodations that they'll be receiving. And so that's kind of hard for a lot of the parents because the accommodations sometimes are different. They're different, and it's getting that school to work with that parent and to make sure that those accommodations are met.
Thank you for that perspective, Nita.
Hey, Sherry, can I kind of ask a follow-up question?
Sure, please.
When it comes to school districts like, say, for instance, the ones down around JBSA, where the boards are not elected, but instead they go through a different process to become members of the board. Have you guys found for those of you who worked both at a school district that had an appointed board or a selected board, and those who have an elected board that's elected by the community, have you found any differences when it comes to the district's willingness and their just the way they remove barriers to transitions because they are a board of military folks that serve there, a board of spouses or military members that serve on that board? We found that that makes the transition a little bit easier because they understand the situation a little bit easier?
Well, I can only speak on Fort Sam, and Fort Sam are not elected officials. They are actually, we actually set up interviewing panels and they interview for the position. So with those board members, a lot of them are coming from here in the community. Or they either work in the community or they live on the installation. So I'm not, I don't know if it makes it easier, but they are really involved in the community, and then they're involved in the school district. So whenever the board member actually interviews for the position, we have a 3-panel that actually interview them, and then they make the decision at the end on which person that they're going to select and move forward. Is that an easier process than the outside? I would say yes, because of, like I said, they go through an interviewing process. On the outside, they really don't go through an interviewing process. They're elected officials. Did that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Is any other transition challenges that you see kind of over and over?
I think another challenge that we see is we have 10 different school districts, and some of the school districts are removed from the installation. So it's especially if you have, a family that comes in with one car and the soldier has the car. We often find that younger families are a little bit removed from the resources that we have here on the installation. So this is why it is so very important that we work with all of our other school districts, when they have military nights and events like that, that we have a presence there, so that we can make sure that we also reach those families that might not come onto the installation regularly. You might find a family that just gets here, a husband has to go to the field or gets deployed, and families are a little bit removed. So that is something that we see quite often as well.
Yeah, Simone, Shelley and I were there last week there at Fort Bliss for the Education Summit, and thanks for putting on such a great event. We appreciate you guys doing that. When it sounds like from the garrison command that was speaking, there is a really, really concerted effort to bring more people onto the base that are outside of the military community. Are we seeing that at other bases as well, like Cavazos or and
Oh, Jimmy, you muted.
sorry. I was just curious as to whether or not that's isolated to Fort Bliss, that sort of welcoming and thinking of bringing the community inside the gates to be a part of the military community inside the gate. If that's a Fort Bliss thing, or is that something we expect to see that just kind of spreads across most installations, like whether it be Goodfellow or some of the others that are in other areas, or is that just sort of isolated to the garrison commander there at Fort Bliss wanting to bring the community in more?
So our garrison commander at Fort Cavazos is very community oriented as well, and does a lot to reach out to our surrounding school districts, as well as the community resources that are in the area to ensure that there's connectivity with the installation as far as knowing what's going on. And we also do that by ensuring that a lot of those community resources attend our schools council meeting, our Ed Summit, any kind of function like that or program event that we have, we try to include those resources as well.
At Goodfellow, we also very similar things as others have spoken about. We also have we do the honorary commander program where individuals from the community can apply to be into this program, and then they do different immersions around the base. And San Angelo has a very good relationship with Goodfellow here, so we're always working together to figure out how we can make the lives of military connected students better and just help the community and families involved.
Yeah, same here, Naval Air Station down here at Corpus Christi. We oversee the training command here that teach our Navy and Marines how to fly. So getting community members on base is not as simple. We get them on base for different things to let them see all the services we have. It's more than just a Naval Air Station. We have like the Army Depot who works on all Army helicopters, and the partnerships that we've been having in the community and our military units here, it gives them a better appreciation of what our families go through, even if they live out in town working on the base and they see what's going on. So it's definitely a good community outreach that we ensure that we get people to come on.
Thank you, guys.
So I would say here at JBSA, because we're so big, that we're always doing different events or activities on the installation. And whenever the information is given to the school liaisons, we blast it out to all the districts to let them know, the events and everything that's going on. Like we have a big air show here, and the air show here is going to be on, I think, Lackland this year. So we try to always blast that information out to those different districts so we can pull them in. And then with the district's JROTC programs, so we invite them to come out to be a part of it also. So I would say that it is sometimes difficult trying to get everybody in or getting everybody access to the installation, but we do, but we do actually put out to our schools that if they need access, we can actually work on getting them access to get into the events. But yeah, we're always blasting information out there to them to let them know what's going on, or just to bring them into the installation. And the thing, and one of the things, like I said, I know that we all do collectively here at JBSA. We're continuously going out to our units, talking to our units. So we're touching our families and children in that way. So we're always going out talking to them and letting them know about all the events and things that are going on.
Dr.
When is that gonna
Kraft?
show?
I'll add just a few other highlights. And Terry Jones is one of the more humble individuals I've ever had the opportunity to work with. Terry, it's great to see you. And so she's not going to brag on herself, but I'm going to brag on our school liaison offices associated particularly with Fort Cavazos, formerly Fort Hood, obviously. She mentioned a few of them, but like the Education Summit, a lot of the forum meetings that they organize and put together are really pretty phenomenal, because it's not just a large school district like Killeen ISD that they're inviting to be a part of. It's also organizing all of the surrounding area districts, which, Terry, I think there are still 12 or 13 that are included, as well as the various units and having their support. So one of the differences I would also probably argue, and Bernie, you can speak to this, while there's not an elected official that sits with, or it comprises the board of trustees per se, in Fort Cavazos, the representation is actually the garrison commander. So the garrison commander acts as a kind of de facto board member or trustee, even though non-voting, that is really an extension to all operations associated with the installation, which is a tremendous benefit. One other comment that I'm going to just kind of anecdotally speak to, just in my 11 years and really understanding the military interstate compact, what surprises me still today is, one, particularly if a transitioning family, military connected family, is moving to an area that is not accustomed to transitioning military connected students. One, they just don't have any acknowledgement or familiarity with the compact. But then two, I can recall several situations, and Terry, I don't remember if you were involved in these. We were dealing with one with, I'll never forget, DC Public Schools, and just their reluctance to be able to allow for flexibility, which is clearly outlined in the compact, for like credit transfers. We were trying to get a student a PE credit for graduation purposes, and they wouldn't count like a competitive swim program as a PE credit in DC Public Schools. So that's just an example of some of the things that I still kind of find interesting in just the lack of familiarity and lack of understanding. Even though all 50 states have adopted the Interstate Compact, it's still to some degree a little bit foreign to many districts that are, say, particularly receiving military connected students. So just an observation. And Terry, you are awesome, by the way.
So I
Thank
would
you.
say to piggyback off on what Mr. Kraft was just saying, was that even here in Texas, I have actually had stumbling blocks, had a roadblock where that there's schools in Texas that I've had to actually go back and forth with a child transitioning into and this is their senior year, and they want them to take a class like consumer math, which maybe in that district is the graduation requirement. And the child has had all type of math courses. So and it's hard. And the district would tell me is that in order for the child to graduate, they would have to take this. And it's like, they don't even want to compromise or work with me to say, come on, let's do a course matchup. Let's see what type of math class that the child has had that is actually comparable to this class. So those type of roadblocks I have run into just here in Texas.
Nita, I would say in some of those circumstances, please reach out to myself or Shelly. Ultimately, it's Shelly, but I can connect you with her. So yeah, if any of you ever find yourself in those situations where a school is unwilling to work with you, or just maybe is unclear we are happy to help provide support.
Okay. So
And
I've
Sherry-
already, I'm sorry. So you notice, Sherry, I've only had 2 this week.
I know. I
Sorry.
still need to catch up with you on one of those.
Okay.
Terry, were you going to say something?
I was just going to agree that oftentimes we run out of knowing who to contact, but I know for the situations that have come about over the last several years, we've been able to successfully reach out to Shelley Ramos or you, or talk to the school itself and work something through. It may not be exactly what we wanted or what the student wanted, but there is some compromise there that we can work through and get things kind of smooth and running in the right direction.
Great. I'm going to ask a final question and we're going to wrap up. I love the conversation. Have learned so much. Does anyone have a success story that they'd like to share? I think we all like to hear about the students themselves. So if anyone has something that stands out in their minds, we'd love to hear. Shelley passed on oh, sorry. Please, Simone.
I just wanted to share, I think success moments, and this might not be a student, but when a parent takes charge and you know you have provided them with the information so that they can advocate for their own child, those are the moments where I feel, okay, so we made a difference, because not only are they going to be okay while they're here, they will take that information and will be able to, find the best possible outcome for their children as they leave and move on as a military family.
So I have heard a lot in this conversation about parents, and I want to hold on to that because we're going to have a conversation later about our priorities for 2024. And since I'm hearing so much about parents, I'm feeling like that's potentially something we want to maybe talk more about in that conversation. So thank you to all the school liaisons who joined us and shared your experience and expertise with us. We really appreciate it. And if there are any additional questions, please throw them in the chat or send them to me, and I can reach out to school liaisons or Jimmy. He works with them every day, all day. So he's even better probably than I am. So I am going to now share my screen again. So give me just a minute to get this going. Okay, so we are moving on to council member and staff reports. I think Shelley is going to start us off.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see everyone again. So I just wanted to kind of give everybody the heads up that the MIC3 Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission annual business meeting is, gosh, I think 2 weeks away. It's November 8th and 9th, and it's going to be in Richmond, Virginia this year. So I think there's just to kind of give you an overview of some of the kind of more interesting items on the agenda. We will have, there's some new rules that are being amended that the commission is expected to vote on. I think something like 6 new rules, a couple of new, but mostly amendments to old. I think we've previewed in another meeting. I think in our July meeting, we previewed some of those rules that are upcoming on the agenda. For those of you who are familiar with like the MIC3 and past annual business meetings, there's nothing that's going to be terribly controversial at this one or a hot ticket item. It's probably just kind of one of your more standard meetings. I will preview just a little bit early. I'm chair of the training committee on the commission, and we are going to be letting the membership know about a new learning management system that's getting ready to launch. So that's just a little sneak preview, but I will share more information with you all about the learning management system at our next meeting. But that's about it. I mean, if there are any, as always, if there are any concerns or topics that you want me to take to the commission, I am always happy to do so.
Thank you, Shelley. I just wanted to let everyone know that TEA made a social media post for the State Advisory Council, and you're looking at it. So this was posted on October 20th, I believe, hoping kind of just to spread the word, let people know what you all are doing. And also, this is the 1-year anniversary, pretty much the 1-year anniversary. It's been a year since the first meeting. So thank you all for all the work and thought you've put into the last year and the Advisory Council and the Military Compact. We wanted to just update you on some of the impact that the council and has had. So these are the trainings that happened last year. You can see them there, and the number of participants that attended those trainings. So that's approximately 750, mainly educators. So most of the military compact trainings that happened last year were within districts. And so you can see the totals there. And we do have one scheduled for the San Antonio area through Region 20 for April 2nd. So that's a big number. We're excited about that. And we always want to know what other ideas and suggestions you have. So if there are things you think of that would be good ideas for Shelley and I to present, or Jimmy to present, anyone at TEA, let us know. Shelley, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think the only thing I would add is that if we happen to be scheduled to do a presentation for your area and you want us to invite you, sometimes like with the Fort Bliss Education Summit, we were lucky enough to be able to attend in person, but most of the time these are virtual Zoom meetings, but we'd be happy to invite you to be on if you have any interest in joining us. And I think they would also be happy to hear that they have a state council member on the meeting.
So last meeting, we were talking about council member term lengths because we didn't really get any of that solidified in our operating procedures. And so last meeting, we talked about what we would do in the interim to kind of collect some data. And so I've reached out to other Texas councils that are through TEA. And what we've learned is that some councils have staggered terms where it's like every other year people are leaving or coming on. Some have 2-year terms with an option to extend for 1 term. So it could be that they serve 4-year terms. So some are serving 2, some are serving 4. And then there are some councils that have where, depending on what their representation is, depends on what their term is. And so there's a council that they don't have any terms. Members stay until there's either a change in post or that member steps down. And so like, for example, say the TEA commissioner designee, like that position's not going to change until someone changes that position or until that person would step down. So that's just an example. And so we want to know if you all have other options to consider, thoughts to consider for terms, or what you think of these that are presented. And I don't know if you all just saw that my battery is running low, so while you're, I'm gonna quickly get it plugged in while you all are talking about terms. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Give you an opportunity, Shelley, to kind of take a break, to plug in your computer. I'll fill the void here. So the reason why I was asking about the board members and being a part of a committee or a part of the governing body of a school board, if they're not appointed to the board through the direction of the base itself. My wondering on that is more around mobility. We have our military service members that are mobile. This conversation we're talking about right now, people coming and leaving, going in 2 years. Sometimes they're there 6 months, sometimes they're there for more than for 2 or 3 years. And so my question is really around, how does mobility at the adult level impact military connected students at the school level?
So what you're asking is that are you asking is the 2-year term sufficient enough for the school board member?
Yeah, really just wondering, because what we're talking about here, it really is mobility. We have people that come in and out, except those who stay, our liaisons that stay, they're members of the community. But for those folks that are PCSing in and out, we talked to one last week in El Paso that would really, really like to be more involved, but she and her husband are shipping out in the next year. And so I'm just curious as to if that's something that as a council, we can kind of put our head together and just kind of wrap our minds around what a solution to that might be for those active duty members or member spouses that want to be more involved, but they know that there is an expiration date on their ability to be in the community and be involved. And so I'm really curious about that part.
Dr. Bowser, I don't know if anything can be done when it comes to, those are decisions that are out of our hands. If we have individuals, if you're talking specifically board service, if you have active duty service members who are able to serve on the board, if the military calls them, if they get deployed or they PCS, again, that's a decision that's out of our hands. One of the reasons why on our boards, 3 of the people on the board have to be civilians. They have to be stable civilians. You can have 3 civilians, 2 military, or you can have up to all civilians. But a majority of the board has to be 3 civilians in our situations. I'm saying those that are on military installations. And that's just to help guarantee the stability of the board. It wouldn't make any sense to have 4 active duty members on the board and then they all get deployed, right? Then you wouldn't have a board. So that's one of the reasons why it's written in law the way it is, so that we can maintain stability for the school district. So like I said, at least 3 out of those 5 have to be civilian positions. They can't. You can have 2 military, but the 3 have to be civilian. I don't know if that helps you or not.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That helps quite a bit. Thank you, Dr. Roper.
The only thing I would add is, and I think I'm really sure I'm on the same page. We're talking about serving on this particular committee or board. I like the idea of term limits because I think what it does provide is the opportunity for others to step up and serve on the board and really learn more about the military state interstate compact, MIC3, just everything affiliated with what has already been discussed just today. Like I say, it just provides that opportunity for professional growth. So I kind of like the idea of a 2-year term limit with maybe the ability to extend a year. In my particular case, transitioning again from Fort Cavazos to San Antonio. And Nate, I'm looking forward to working with you. But if it were one of those things that I was no longer in a position of serving or supporting a military affiliated community, I don't know that it would be necessarily appropriate for me to continue to serve on this committee. So that's also just something to take into consideration.
So I would say, Dr. Kraft, I totally agree with you. I mean, and it's just me saying this and actually watching the board over the last 8 years since I've been in this position. The first year they get in, they're just learning. They're just learning how to vote. And then by the second year, they possibly have their feet wet, but not quite wet yet. So to me, it would really, for a board member, it would really, if you could extend that time to at least 3 years, because at least at the third year, they got it. But I see, just observing some of the board members that I have in the past, is that, by the time that 2 years is up, they're still learning. They're still in the process of getting themselves acclimated to the position. So a third year would really be great if they could.
I think we're talking
I think I'm done.
I think we're talking about two different things at this point. We keep.
Oh, are we? Okay.
I think, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, we were talking about the State Advisory Council board and the positions on the board. Am I correct?
That's correct, Dr. Roper.
Then
Okay. See, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about, because when I saw military installation representatives, I was thinking we were talking about the board members on the installations. All right. Stand to be corrected. I'm sorry.
It's still a good kernel to chew on a little bit, though, Nita. So 2 years, I think, is one of the options you see there. Number 2, one of the options is 2-year terms, but we could also do, to Nita's point, 3-year terms if that feels better in terms of allowing people to really get to know the compact and know what their role is going to be, and give them a little bit of time to grow into it. We also don't have to make the decision today. One thing that I'll tell you is we promised last time that we would bring some examples. So Sherry's gone off and done her homework and looked to see how other groups are doing it. But if, we can talk about it some more today, and we are posted to take action on this. So you can take a vote to do something, or we can just wait and mull it over a little bit more and make that decision at our next meeting.
Shelley, could we send out a survey to try to get opinions?
We absolutely could. Dr. Roper, were you gonna make a suggestion or ask a question?
Yeah, I agree with terms, but I think that maybe we should look at individual positions on the board, because you're not going to find a whole lot of military reps, military superintendents, right? And I'm not saying that I want to serve on the board forever, but just know that you don't have a lot of people to pull from for that particular position. So maybe that position can be a little bit longer, or just looking again based off the position, because like you said, there are some who are going to stay until the commissioner removes them, or they PCS or whatever. So maybe you have specific term lengths and for those particular positions. That's just a recommendation.
Yeah, Dr. Roper, I think we were thinking in similar terms to you, in terms of what is the position and how would we be able to find someone to fill that position? And so then that would kind of dictate maybe what some of those terms would be. Sorry, Dr. Kraft, were you about to say something?
No, what I was going to suggest is maybe we divide this up, and I can make the motion if we're ready today, rather than attacking it either a 2 or a 3 year term with the ability to extend an additional year. Draw for places, and that way the places are staggered. To Nita's point, you made a good one in the sense that you're not replacing potentially an entire or the majority of a board within one calendar year all at once. You have maybe staggered where only a third of the board is replaced as a result of term limits or however we want to look at it. But in order to get there, I think that probably each position needs to be identified in some form or fashion as like a number, some type of a system, I could say, so that you have the ability to move forward to term limits through a staggered representation. It's a thought.
So I think we've seen a couple of questions in the chat, and then Dr. Kraft, to your point, I think you're right. I think we probably first need to just identify what the positions are that we would be talking about in terms of term, because, for example, the individual who's designated by the chair of the Senate Committee on Education, that's not one that we would go to the, quite frankly, to go to the chair of the of Senate Education and say, your person's 2 years are up. You need to come up with somebody else. We would allow them to make that. So there's certain positions that are going to be kind of predetermined, and really we're just talking about the positions that are not already predetermined. Sherry, do we have a list of those positions, or do you want to tell us what those positions are?
The predetermined would be the commission. So this is a list of all the positions on the screen right now. The Commissioner of Education or the Commissioner's designee, predetermined. The superintendent could be, there are a few different options there, not a ton, but there are a few, so that could be different. The governor's designee is predetermined. The chair of the Senate committee, predetermined. Chair of the House of Representatives, that's predetermined. The representative from each branch of the armed services, that's, I mean, almost predetermined. So that's not going to fluctuate much. And then we have, oops, sorry about that. We have the, these down at the bottom are going to be a little more flexible. So aside from, well, the highly mobile student coordinator, that's predetermined. That's Jimmy. And I mean, really, Dr. Roper, the military school district superintendent, there's, not going to be a whole lot of flexibility there, some, but the school counselor, the parent, the district level administrator, some of those would be more flexible.
So I think then, let me sum that up. So I think what we're looking at are terms for the following positions. And I'm going to contradict something I just said by mentioning two of them, the positions that are designated by the legislative chairs of the education committees, because those chairmanships change. And so we would want to give the new chairs an opportunity. So I think we would include them in there, even though they may just say, continue that person on in the position. So let me summarize. So the second bullet, the superintendent of a district with a high concentration of military children. The individual appointed by the chair of Senate Education, the individual appointed by the chair of House Public Education, military school district superintendent, although we might want to have a slightly different term for that position based on Dr. Roper's statement, the school counselor position, the parent position, and the district level administrator position. I like the idea. So we've got a couple ideas that people have talked about. We've talked about staggering terms. I think Lena in the chat expressed that she liked a 2-year term with an option to extend. So that would be a max of 2 terms if at that individual's preference. Sherry, would you mind going back to the previous slide?
Yeah, sorry.
We could do 3-year terms. We could even do a combination of these things. So if you wanted to do the 2-year term with an option to extend and then stagger them, that would be a possibility. Any other options that aren't up here that we want to consider?
Just a quick question. So do we know how many positions does that leave on the board that would potentially be a 2 and or 3-year term limit? Doesn't sound like it's a large number, but
I think when Sherry and I counted, it was pretty evenly split between the number of positions that would cycle in and out at some amount of time after some amount of time, and then the number of positions that are determined by other entities.
so if it's half of the board, I would suggest, yeah, staggering the terms, either 2 and or 3, but that way it just doesn't seem like you have a brand new board every time there's a term limit year. So I would stagger it so that, like I say, it's dispersed across each year. Approximately a third of the new members are acclimating themselves to Nita's point, and that way it's not starting fresh at the end or beginning of each new term.
Any thoughts on that?
This is Simone. I do agree with that, what was just said.
I think maybe more importantly, any opposition to that idea of doing either a 2 or a 3-year term and then staggering them so that we always have, I guess I'll say, veteran members of the council.
And Shelley, we're talking about only those that aren't like positions that are just kind of always.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you all have a preference for 2 versus 3 years? You can feel free to use the chat if that's easier for you.
Kelly, I'm willing to try to cobble together a motion if
Me
you need
too.
it.
That would be great.
Okay, I'm going to make the motion for the military council to be comprised of membership, and I guess it's not really at large, but membership that is appointed and or elected to serve 2-year terms with the ability to extend 1 year, and staggering these terms so that each year there is approximately 1/3 of new membership that would be either appointed or elected. Again, 2-year terms with the ability to extend a year.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Dr. Roper.
Second.
I would just like Dr. Kraft to repeat that again. I'm just playing.
I wrote it down so I can repeat
No,
it.
no
if it's-
chance, Bernie. That's why we're recording the meeting.
All right. Any discussion of the motion by Dr. Kraft? And I'll repeat it. So the terms that we identified that are not already appointed because of their position, their job, I guess, essentially, or designation by the governor, would serve 2-year terms plus the option for a 1-year extension. And the positions would be staggered so that approximately 1/3 of the council, oh, this is where my notes failed me, are new. Is it 1/3 return or 1/3 new?
Yeah,
Dr.
let me rephrase that motion because it may be up to a half, depending on whether or not the members are extended that year. So if it's a 2-year term and they're staggered, obviously it could be potentially a half of the new board, just dependent upon whether or not that, like I say, 1-year extension is granted or considered.
Got it. All right, so up to half of the council is new. Could be less than that.
For these identified positions, like you said, those that are
Correct.
designated, nominated, could remain in perpetuity until something changes.
Dr. Roper, does that adequately address your concern that there are so few military superintendents of military school districts?
I guess it could, but I still think because those are in such limited number, and then you know, people are gonna have to accept
Mhm.
to want to serve. And I don't know how many people will, but we'll just, I just want to be careful about just saying that if you serve this term and you extend, that you can't do anymore, because then that's gonna
Oh,
knock,
right,
you know what I'm saying, knock out people who may want to continue to serve.
correct.
And I don't know how that's gonna be written, but because you eventually, well, I'm retiring in 4 years, but anyway, you know, kind of it's going to be a rotating of the same people who are in those positions. But superintendents change out too, so maybe they will want to.
Dr. Rober, is it just the 3 that are there in the San Antonio area that are the military superintendents?
Yeah, in the San Antonio area.
Just those 3? Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, then let's go ahead and I'm going to stop talking because I'm a member of the council and I'm going to let Sherry have us vote.
Okay, so Shelley, we're doing a
We'll
show of
just need to-
hands.
Sure.
Okay. Well, actually, you're gonna have to say something because I can't see everybody. So
Okay, it can be, I think it can also be a voice vote. And then if it sounds like it's close, we can do a show of hands. So those in favor of the amendment to the operating procedures that would specify a 2-year term plus the option for a 1-year extension, ensuring that the positions that are that we discussed would be staggered so that no more than half of those positions would be new in any 1 year.
and I'm gonna say real quick, Kristen and Surrey can vote in place of who they're sitting in for.
Correct. So all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing and seeing no opposition, then that motion carries. Thank you very much, Dr. Kraft. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I will get that written up and then submit it to you all at the next meeting to confirm. And then it'll go in the operating procedures. Thank you. All right, so we have Dr. Bowser.
Sherry, I think Dr. Bowser may have stepped away for just a second. He said he'd be right back.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I see that now. So let's go ahead and we'll come back to him. The next thing after him
He's
was,
back, Sherry.
oh,
Hey,
Jimmy.
sorry.
Just in time.
I was trying to get back as fast as I could.
It's your turn, Jimmy.
All right, let's do this, folks. I'll try not to keep you very long. Again, great, so fantastic to see everyone this year. At this meeting today. I just want to update on a couple different things here from the program side. As you know, we had several bills, but we had two that were the main ones that drew the most attention once word kind of got out there, and that was, HB 2892, which was related to the transfer of military connected students that were dependents of service members, and HB 1959, which did the same thing, but for peace officers. And when I went in to look up peace officers, I realized there are 31 different versions of peace officers that are included in this particular bill that are eligible, that for upon request they can have their child transferred to another school within the district or another school district. And so when these bills were written, TA was not given rulemaking authority, and so it was left up to each individual school district to implement these new laws on their own. There was only one, because the laws did not apply to charter schools, that made them eligible for changes or for opting out via the District of Innovation clause there. And so we only had one district that opted out of these, but it turned out to be, from what I just anecdotally speaking, or anecdotally, in talking to different superintendents that were really worried about this, that their school districts were going to kind of explode with service member kids and police officer kids. After talking with them, every single one of them that I've talked to, I said it turned out not to be as big a deal as they thought it would be. They haven't had to hire anybody or buy portables or anything like that. And so that's good news. But there's a possibility that there may be some changes. The legislature is in session right now, so who knows? But they're continuing to talk about these bills and others. To next one, Sherry.
Yep.
Then there was Senate Bill 1008, and this is more so in Shelley's shop. Shelley, did you want to talk about this, or you want me to go ahead and just talk about it?
Shelley has stepped off.
Oh, she did? Okay. So Senate Bill 1008 relates to the establishing of residency for the purposes of admission into public schools. As you may remember, this used to be, service members used to have 10 days from the date they arrived to provide the school district with an address, basically proving that they were in that school district. Well, that has now been extended to 90 days after much discussion about just how long it takes to find a home, especially those who are moving here to Texas. It's very hard to find a home in the first 10 days. And so many of our service members were having those issues, and the legislature extended that to 90 days now. So it's 90 days from the dates on your PCS orders to provide that proof of residency to the school district at that point. And then HB 621 did quite a few things. This one was related to creating temporary certifications to teach CTE courses for certain military service members and first responders. The rulemaking, I went to the SBOE meeting, the State Board of Educators, SBEC meeting, the State Board of Educator Certification meeting, when the team, our certification team, was there to present this. And there were a couple of different things that were addressed in this rule. And so they do have rulemaking authority to create the rules. And so they have been doing that. The first step was going to the SBC and then getting the SBC to adopt the processes that they put in place, and the timeline they sort of put in place to bring to fruition these certifications. I've been in touch with them. One thing we've been looking at is the possibility of putting out there a military crosswalks for those courses that would be eligible under this bill for certain service members or responders to come in and teach. For instance, I can remember 2 years ago here in Austin, we were opening a fire program, at LBJ High School here in Austin. And we had the hardest time. I really wanted to have a firefighter teach that course. And we had the hardest time trying to find a firefighter to teach that course. But we did find military members that had served as firefighters in the military that wanted to teach the position. And so, you know, we were doing some discussions, making some calls about those kind of things. But we think these kind of things are going to be really good for some of our service members to be able to really take their experience from, you know, years and years and years of serving in an MOS and becoming an expert at a job. And then they can come into a school, get a certification, and teach that particular skill set to kids who are in those courses. And so they're looking at that for EMS. I know firefighting, police, and there were some more on the list. But as soon as we have that list and the crosswalks with the MOS, with the list of MOSs for each branch of service, then we'll have that ready to go. That's one of the products that we've talked about and developing. And so another thing that was inside of HB 621 was there is a statute that allows for the spouses of service members who have certain types of certifications in other states for them to come here and receive a reciprocal certification in this state. And so they're looking to expand that beyond just like teachers and nurses and things like that. But one of the things that somehow was left out is also military service members themselves are now eligible for this particular to get a teaching certification. It used to be just member spouses. Now it's military service members as well. And so they can, you know, once the rules are finalized, and the team that I've been talking with, they're looking at these things being finalized over the next 2 months. And so as soon as that's out there, maybe at our next state council meeting, we'll have that ready to rock and roll, ready to go, ready to share with everyone. And so looking forward to that. But I think the more legislature continues down this road of really being in tune with the needs of the military, I think that's just such a fantastic thing that the legislature is doing. And we're all too happy to help out with that process. And so one of the things I always recommend, if you're following a bill, you want to follow a bill, if you had any concerns about HB 2859 or 1959, this is where I go to get all of my information. And it's called Texas Legislature Online. And so you just go in here, you can type in a keyword or a bill number. And as you can see, if you look up at the top, it says 88R. It actually has 88, that's the regular session. So then it'll have 88.1, 88.2, 88.3, since we're in the third legislative session. And so you have to be sure you make sure you collect or click on the correct drop down in order to get the bill. But this is how I keep up. You can create all kind of alerts. Well, it will alert you on the movement of the bill. I was really concerned, well, not concerned, but I was really wanting to follow HB 2859 as it moved through the process. And so the date I got the alert that the governor had signed it, I reached out to the different superintendents and the different military service members that I had been engaging with to let them know, okay, hey, this just got signed in the law, you know, and just keeping that dialogue open with them. But this is how I keep up with finding bills that I'm looking for, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it for anyone who wants to kind of know what's going on with the legislature, wants to know what's going on with the bills. You can type in something as simply as military as a key term, and it will give you all bills filed that have anything whatsoever to do with the military. And then you can click on those to make them bill alerts. And that way, anytime there's changes or movement on those bills, it will send you an email to let you know there's been some sort of a change or some sort of movement on that particular bill. So I highly recommend this.
And I imagine that Madison and Surrey, sitting in for Madison today, could probably give us a really nice lesson on this.
Yes, it's actually super helpful. If you guys have any questions, shoot an email.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madison. Real quickly, I'll go over Purple Star. I think the folks on this committee kind of are familiar with what it is, but the Purple Star campus designation recognizes those campuses for demonstrating that unique commitment to meeting the unique needs of military connected families. We are in the process of possibly looking at this and adjusting the timeline. Right now, we award it each fall, but some of the feedback we've gotten from schools is that we would really like to have this be announced in May so that we can advertise this all throughout the summer, and then we can start off our year you know, being a Purple Star school as waiting as opposed to the end of August. And so that's one of the things we're looking at, is looking at the timeline as to when this is awarded and possibly moving that back or moving that back some. The issue with that is going to be that like for the last 2 years, about 80 to 90% of the applications came in once kids had already left for the year. Because we had about 4 applications, and I was kind of freaking out. And then in the last 3 or 4 days of the application process, we got over 300 applications in just those few days. And so most of the folks that I talked to that reached out to me, they said, I'm so sorry, I just didn't have time during the school year when kids are here. It's so much easier once they leave. I can just sit down and just work on this application. And so that's also feedback that we're listening to as well. You can go ahead, Sherry. Again, there's the criterion for the Purple Star campus designation. Have to have that campus-based military liaison, and we've been sure to emphasize that on behalf of our installation-based liaisons, because one of the things we were finding as we go into pages, they wouldn't list the campus-based liaison, but they were listing only the installation-based liaison. And so as a result of the feedback I got from liaisons, we did go ahead and make sure we're emphasizing that in the training going forward. They have that webpage for military connected families, the student-led campus transition program. They have to conduct professional development for staff, and then they have to participate in one of 3 initiatives to support military connected students and their families. And I think it's East Central ISD that's doing something this Friday in San Antonio area. So I'm going to try, they're having a military family night and ECISD, and so I'm going to try to make it down for that this Friday. Once the campus gets the designation, it lasts for 2 years, and then the second year of their designation, they have to reapply to maintain their certification. And we're currently, over the previous year, we saw a 39% jump in the number of Purple Star campuses. And so we're fast on track to try and catch up with Ohio, who currently has the most. That's where the program began. They're right at just over 500. And so we have a goal to, by 26, 27, to make sure that we are #1 in the country. And this was the announcement that came this year on August 24th. I was sitting here the night of August 23rd. I was working on rereading the TAA and some of those things that we were getting ready to send out. And then I got a call saying, oh, by the way, don't send your email tomorrow. The governor's going to make the announcement. And so it was exciting for us. The governor himself made the announcement about this year's Purple Star schools that came out on August 24th with 150, actually it was 152 schools that have been announced. We had 2 more. But the great thing we saw in the data is that the program is expanding. Last year, the schools were represented by 10 ESCs. This year was 13 ESCs. I happen to have the pleasure to go down to Corpus Christi to present to their superintendent's council this year. And we had a lot of schools from Region 10 that participated and applied this year. So that's a good thing. And as Shelley and Sherry mentioned earlier, please, if you got something going on, invite us. We'll come down if we can. If not, we'll jump on virtually, but we'll do anything we can to help out. Again, the growth last year in a number of the ISDs, there were 29 ISDs represented in the list last year. This year, there are 44. And of those campuses that had the opportunity to recertify, we had more than half of them complete the recertification application and then become recertified as a Purple Star school. One of the districts that reached out to me early on was Granbury ISD. They were hoping to get 100% of their campuses designated as Purple Star campuses. And I'm proud to congratulate them on achieving that. They do have all 10 of their campuses now are Purple Star campuses. So good congratulations to them. And there's the full link, the full list can be found on our website. This was my TAA I was working on when they called me and told me to put it away. So I did get a chance to visit Northside ISD. I came down this year. I was looking for you, Dr. Kraft, but they told me you were busy. I went over to a couple of the campuses. They were doing their Purple Up program there in Northside ISD. And so I got a chance to visit a couple of those schools. And so please, if your schools are doing anything whatsoever, please invite me. I'd love to come out and see these and take pictures. And include them in what we're doing. Again, we just love coming to see the kids. Oh my God, they're so cute. Coming and seeing them. One last thing is we want to remind not just this committee, but if you can help us get the word out about capturing the military student identifier or the MSI. We've been doing some feedback and some focus groups about the MSI and what's the best way to do that. I went to the national convening of Purple Star Schools last week. And it was one of the questions that we asked was just how are people capturing the MSI and how are they avoiding the confusion of the MSI survey with the impact aid survey. One of them has to be filled out and has to be returned according to state and federal law. The other does not, but we highly encourage that. One of the things we've been doing, and I plan to reach out to some of the our military superintendents and our other superintendents that have done impact aid for years, like Dr. Kraft and Dr. Roper, to get more information from you guys on how the agency can better support our districts in getting their MSI surveys back, and just whatever we can do to help out, we're willing to do that until we make sure that we're not leaving. Because when looking at it, there was a lot of money left on the table. There's a lot of LEAs just didn't apply for the impact aid, but they were eligible. And so we want to do whatever we can to help out. It doesn't flow through TEA, but we want to help out any way that we can. But the idea is getting that identification is the most important thing. This is a sample on the previous slide. You just saw a really simplified version of the MSI. It can be this simple, or it can be this nice. This is one from Houston ISD that they use. They use both paper and virtual forms in their enrollment process. And so I asked them to send me a copy of the paper form. Look, I think it looks really nice. It's really well done. And so, but the MSIs, it can be as simple or as complicated, but we need every student to be identified that is a military connected service member. Again, these are just those PEAMS codes. One of the things that some of the feedback we've gotten back from some commanders at installations is that they don't feel like these PEAMS codes accurately capture everyone that could possibly be a military connected student. And so for those who, those installation commanders, those installation representatives, our SLOs, I'll be engaging with you guys because we have an opportunity to bring back any changes we need to make to this PEAMS. This is the PEAMS table where those students, the coding goes. And just some of the feedback we've gotten was that this doesn't quite accurately capture everyone. There's some folks that are being left out. And so if you have any feedback on this, please email me, but I will be in touch with our liaisons, especially to get information from them on feedback on these codes in case we need to make any changes to it. They've given us until the end of November to propose those changes, and that goes through a whole process. And so we'll be reaching out for that. Another thing I wanted to mention, this one's kind of new. This is a grant that we have currently. It started out as a grant. It's called the Amachi program. It initially started out as a grant that the state provided money to Big Brothers Big Sisters to do mentoring programs for those students who had parents that are incarcerated. Well, a new element of the program is that they do mentoring for military children who maybe have a parent or parents that are deployed, and it's called Operation Biggs. And one of the things they talk about is, it's not their interest in trying to fill those boots, because that just can't happen. However, having someone there that can help mentor our young men and women when there's a parent that is deployed, someone they can talk to, someone that can just be a mentor for them. This is a great thing. The website is there, www.bbbs.org/military, to get in touch with them if you have, if your installation, or if you want to bring them on and talk with them, they'll be happy to come in and talk with you guys about bringing Operation Biggs to those students on military installations that have parents that are deployed or just need a mentor. All right, and with that, I will pause for any questions you might have. My wait time is amazing. All right. Sherry moved me on. All right, so this is how to get in touch with me. If you need anything, there's my email, my contact, my information. There's a QR code that is signed up for our TEA Military Connected Student newsletter. If you've not done that yet, please feel free to scan that with your phone and sign up. Be sure to click the box next to Military Connected Student newsletter. But from this link, you can actually subscribe to any of TEA's newsletters that go out, and so feel free to do that, and so you can stay informed on kind of things that are going on.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
So this is just an opportunity for any council members who have anything they want to discuss, talk about, bring up, whatever. This is your opportunity. If there's nothing, we can keep going. And if you think of something, you can say it at any time. It does not have to be during this moment, but just want to always make sure we provide that we want to hear from you. So this is kind of our last big piece is we want to talk about what you all as a council want the priority to be, or priorities to be for 2024. And so I sent this all in your email, but you can take some time to look at this. This is what statute says the role of this council is. And so when we're thinking about what our priorities would be, it needs to fit in with the role. Really last year, the reason I highlighted one is because that last year the priority was disseminating information about the military compact. And we were doing that primarily through districts. That's not something we're stopping. We will just continue to keep doing that. But we want to think about like what else can we do? What else do we want to focus on? And so this is just a discussion for you all to talk about that. Earlier, I brought up the point that I kept hearing people talking about parents. And so this is where I was saying, let's bring that back up, because I feel like possibly maybe the priority since last year was looking at districts, maybe this year it's trying to disseminate information about the military compact to parents, perhaps. But here are some questions to think about. So, what are the main challenges within the scope of the military compact facing transitioning military connected students in Texas? And so there are lots of different perspectives to look at. Like, I think counselors might say something different than students would say, than school liaisons would say, and versus people at commanders at military installations. So there's a lot of perspectives to consider when we're thinking about what those challenges are. Thinking about what information do you all need to be able to determine what you want to focus on. And then considering how will you know that the State Advisory Council has made an impact? So these are all just some questions to think about in trying to figure out what you'd want to focus on for next year. And the floor is open for anyone who has a thought or something they want to put forth. We also don't have to decide right here and now. This may be something you just want to consider, send me an email about, or that we can bring back up in our January meeting.
I want to say something. I like that idea. As a parent from the other side now of being retired from the military, that you have to educate more parents. My district is not that high on military presence. There's very little people who enroll daily, but we have a family from California transitioning out of the Navy, and I was happy to inform them that they will be covered for 1 year and walk them through. They didn't know anything about the compact, and it was nice if we can provide more education to parents when they can and they move to Texas.
Okay, thank you, Lena. Yeah, I wondered what your perspective would be on that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it sounds like, just from what I was hearing from the school liaison panel, is that parents often just, there is a disconnect. They don't know about the military compact. School liaisons, it sounds like, are working hard to change that. And so maybe as a council, there are things that we could do as well. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I think the surveys are a good idea as well, to make sure that we're hitting on all of the issues that our schools are seeing as military connected kids come into our schools, and make sure that those parents and those kids are getting the support that they need. Because like everybody has said, not everybody knows about it. And that means that, you know, we have to put more of an effort into the education process of the compact for our parents, because if they don't know about it, then our kids will be, they're going to be at a disadvantage. And the purpose of the compact was to take that disadvantage, out of the process. So I think the education of it, we have a lot of school districts in Texas, albeit they're not all, dealing with military kids, but in some cases they may have 1 or 2 military kids. But that compact is for them too.
Mm-hmm.
Counselors don't know about it, then again, those kids could possibly be at a disadvantage.
Dr. Roper, who would you want to survey? Who would you want to hear from?
Well, parents for sure, because they're the ones living it, right? And then counselors, I think, are key people that need to, because again, they're the ones who are enrolling the kids. And so they see the problems that are being, that parents are having to deal with, but they're looking at it from a different angle. So those are at least 2. It's probably more, but to me, those are the 2 key.
Okay, thank you.
I think PEEMS registrars as well, or registration clerks, that are the, you typically are the first ones that people talk to when they come in the building, and they usually handle the enrollments. Just in my 20 years as a school principal, it was usually the registrar. A lot of times that was that person that was there that knew a lot of information and could help track down kids, could make sure that they were explaining things like the military student identifier survey and those kind of things. And so there's an opportunity. We bring together all of the registrar clerks from the education service centers. We had an opportunity to present to them last year. And so that may be a really good one a really good group to get in front of as well, with the compact, and talking to them about the compact.
Jimmy, what did y'all do last year? You said you brought them all together.
Yeah, they were. We got in touch with I forget who's the liaison here at the agency, but they were going to be having a meeting anyway with all of the ESC PEEMS clerks, the folks that train, folks at the LEAs, and so we were able to get in front of that group, and our theme was under identification, because you feel like there are so many kids that are not identified, whether it be foster care, homeless, pregnancy-related services, on any of those that sit in our group. We're really working on trying to minimize the issues of under-identification, because when you look at Texas DFPS numbers on foster care, their number of kids that they say are in foster care is closer to 30,000. Our numbers are closer to 15,000. That's a giant disconnect there. And so we're trying to figure out how to better identify and make sure that the numbers are the same, and just identifying all those different mobile groups, whether it be emerging bilingual, military connected, pregnancy-related services, foster care, homeless, all those different groups. We're really trying to make inroads with identifying those kids, and quickly.
Hi,
Do
this is Nita.
Yeah, Nita.
I don't know if I can provide a suggestion, but I was just thinking it would really help like school principals too, because I know in a lot of cases that I've actually worked on the outside, the school principals are not having a clue to what the MIC3 is. And I even had one school that thought that I was from the Pentagon. They thought actually the parent had reached out to the Pentagon and brought me in because I was coming in asking them questions about the MIC3. So I would say school principals really need to know about it too.
I have a feedback. I have serious concern when, I mean, obviously we cannot control when the orders are gonna be caught and when we're moving. But for high school and secondary students, moving before ending the semester, it means losing credit. And their district that will try to help you, but their district that they won't. And you lose that. It's, I mean, science, we're talking about AP class, we're talking about algebra, credit by time is late, it's probably in summer. So it's, it requires a lot of education from the previous station to the upcoming to make those parents aware that there's stuff that needs to be done in order to not to lose that credit.
I totally agree with that because now you have 8th graders, which I've had 3 8th graders to come in that are taking BC calculus.
Yeah, I'm a registrar,
and they don't,
so I know that
okay,
I suffer because it's, I mean, it's losing everything.
Yeah. I've had 3 8th graders to come in this year that have taken BC calculus and they don't want to count it because they were not a high schooler when they took the course, but they took BC calculus. So I've had to actually go into the school and explain to the school, this should be an accredited class for this child. Doesn't matter if this child took this class in the 8th grade, this should be an accredited class.
Yeah, again, Nita, that's definitely something that we can help you with. We can provide the statute that states that you can provide if needed. So, okay, so I'm going to take everything you've said, run it through Shelley, and then we'll have something to present at the January meeting. Please, in the meantime, as you think of things, just shoot me an email and I'll add it to the list. Thank you for your thoughts on that. So we have some upcoming events to remind you about. Shelley mentioned the annual business meeting coming up. Jimmy, you have the Military Connected Students webinar. Do you want to say anything about that?
I know it's coming up November 14th. We hope to see everyone there. Those emails, I think one went out already, but we'll be sending them weekly leading up to November 14th. And so if you sign up for our newsletter, you should probably get that either within the next day or two for the November 14th Military Connected Students webinar.
There are the MIC3 Compact 101 trainings. There's one on November 14th and December 12th. And then Shelley and I will be doing a military compact training for counselors in Region 20 on April 2nd. And then our next meeting is January 22nd, Monday at 1 o'clock. So we hope to see you all then. I'll be sending all your reminders and information before then, but always in the meantime, please reach out to us. Let us know if you have questions or need help with anything, or just have thoughts. Or if you're going to be in the Austin area and you want to stop by and say hi, that would be amazing. I would love to meet some of you in person. So let us know. We'd love to show you around TEA and introduce you to some people. And I think that's it. There's a survey. We always are trying to improve, and so take some time to let us know what you think. And thank you so much for being here today.
Everybody, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I will
Happy
send this.
Halloween.
Oh yes, happy Halloween. I'll send this presentation out when I send the minutes and some of the wrap up. That'll be in about a week or so.
Just as a reminder, November is Military Family Appreciation Month, and so please be sure and let those families know you appreciate them.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
you.
Have a great afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
You bet.